It's time for the View in Your Mirror podcast. I'm Katie Harms, and along with Lisa Rubin, we help you check in and curate the best possible you and the best view in your mirror. We share tips, tricks, and strategies from our 35 plus years in our respective industries. We talk about your day from morning to night and everything in between. We share our uniqueness, relish in our shared experiences. Along the way, we share conversation with fabulous people who give us their own thought-provoking insights. So come along as we help you hone the best view in your mirror. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Katie.
You've got your melodious voice on because we're talking melodious things today.
Melodious, that's a big word. Can I have a definition for melodious? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I think you can figure it out.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You know what makes me giddy and melodious is when I think about Rustica Bakery, our presenting sponsor, who we talk about all the time and we wax and wane about how incredible they are. But I want to, for a minute, talk about the bigger picture. Rustica Bakery is owned by Jester Concepts, which is a restaurant group owned by Brent Fredericks. And he is an amazing individual. And what I love about Brent is his spirit of giving. He does so much for the community. He is constantly giving back. I have recently been asked to be on the committee for Fashion Fest for the U of M Masonic Children's Hospital. Brent is constantly giving to that organization, other organizations at the U. Jester Concepts' fingerprint is all over so much in the community. And I really want to say thanks for that. But I also wanted to just really quickly talk about all the restaurants under the Jester Concept umbrella. Really quick. Burrow.
I can't spell some. I can't.
Burrow, Parlor, Bar. You can't spell. We won't do a test.
No, I'm a good speller.
Can you spell P.S. steak?
No, I'm a really good speller. I can't pronounce some of them.
Okay. Char Bar, Butcher and the Boar, Starling, Rustica, Shiki.
That's the one I can't pronounce.
Shiki Noodles.
Yeah, that's
Mirabelle, which is beautiful.
Which I haven't been able to get into yet.
And Revival. All under the Jester Concepts umbrella.
I didn't know he had Revival.
Mm-hmm. Fun facts to know and tell. Now, have you ever been in a high school theater production?
Yeah, 2 of them. Not high school. Well, maybe it was junior high. I don't know. I wasn't really good, so I wasn't asked back. I was in Music Man and Fiddler on the Roof.
So you had the only non-speaking or non-singing parts.
Yeah, dancing wasn't so good either. But I had fun with my friends. I kind of sat in the back. Like, as I'm telling you this story, I remember exactly where I was on stage. Petrified.
I think I was in Carnival. That was my one and only.
I'm surprised you weren't in, like, someone asked you to do that, and you're like, of course I will, you know?
I was a really tall, skinny, geeky young woman with not a lot of, I didn't have a real sense of my own body. So athletics was good for me. I was a marginally good athlete.
See, and I was not.
Yeah. I loved athletics. I mean, I really...
I hated athletics.
Really?
Well, no, I didn't hate it. I'm kidding. But I wasn't good at it. Like, I used to, you know, when you had to run the 360, that was like my worst day.
No.
Where you had to run...
Once around the track?
Yeah.
So a 440 or
no,
400.
It's called 360. I remember that. In junior high, we had to run the 360. Like, trust me.
It was a short track. Okay.
I don't know. It was a long track for me. And I would know the day and I would fake sick.
Now, listen, you and I
know that. I mean, but I would tell my mom, I'm like, I can't do that.
I couldn't do distance.
I could hardly breathe.
Yeah, I couldn't do distance. You and I were the same with that.
And that presidential, like, fitness test.
Oh, terrible.
Oh, my God.
Terrible. The other thing I couldn't do is hang. I couldn't do the pull-ups. Like, there was no way in the world.
I couldn't even hang. I couldn't even put my hand up there to even, I still can't. I just got more into exercise in my later years in life.
Well, exercise and sports is kind of different.
I never played a sport.
I remember once being
tennis.
on the basketball court. I was a fairly decent basketball player.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But I remember turning and looking at my coach and asking her to take me out because I was tired. And she said, Pinky Brown. Pinky Brown was my high school coach, and she used reverse psychology. She was instrumental in women's sports in Minnesota. Title IX, had her fingerprints all over it, but she was my coach. And so I asked her to take me out. Coach, take me. And she didn't take me out. She left me in. I was so dragging. Don't you ever ask me to take you out. Oh my gosh. Those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days. But back to theater. It was not something, I loved going to theater, but I've never thought about the back end of theater.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a little teeny tiny glimpse because Jennifer invited me to come along with her on one of the shows that she was producing.
So tell us who this Jennifer is you are commenting about.
So this is Jennifer Melin Miller, and she is our guest today on the podcast, and I'm very excited to welcome her because she's also a friend. But let's get down to what she does.
Perfect.
Jennifer Melin Miller is a theater producer, entrepreneur, business development, and nonprofit consultant and community board member. After an early career in print media in New York City at companies including Time Inc., the New York Times, and a division of Condé Nast, Jennifer returned to her home state of Minnesota, where she worked in nonprofit management at the Minnesota Public Radio and international business development at the Minnetonka Moccasin, before branching out independently as a consultant and entrepreneur. Jennifer turned her lifelong passion for theater into a business, investing in and producing commercial productions on Broadway, off-Broadway, in London, on the West End, and regionally. As a co-producer, she has received several Tony nominations, winning a Tony Award for Best Musical in 2019 for Hadestown. Jennifer has served on several arts and community nonprofit boards, including currently the Guthrie Theater, Mission Animal Hospital, the Planned Parenthood North Central States Foundation, and Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS Leadership Circle. I'm very excited to welcome Jennifer on our podcast today.
Jennifer Miller, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
How's the stage fright?
Scale of 1 to 10. It's up
Scale
there,
of 1 to
but
10.
actors use it to their benefit, so I'm hoping I can do that too.
Exactly. That's the adrenaline, right? And it helps you. I mean, we have so many questions. Were you a theater kid?
I'd say yes.
Okay.
Maybe growing up with a grandmother and a mother who would bring me to see shows at, the Broadway Theater or other places where musicals or plays would come into town, and we would listen to cast albums and Hooked on Classics Broadway. So it was always crazy about the music. And when I was in high school, had the opportunity to be in kind of a review. So I was on stage singing and dancing. I'd never taken dance in my life, never singing lessons in my life, but I think I just had the enthusiasm and maybe the grit and the ability to work really hard that they allowed me to do that, and did a little bit in college. But I realized really quickly I was a better fan than being a star or somebody on stage.
What drove you to kind of the other end of the business?
Yeah, well, I'm a business person. My undergraduate, graduate degrees are in business, and so I feel really comfortable, knowledgeable in that area. And I think, being talent is an incredibly competitive area. And so I think, people who make it or do it professionally are just the cream of the crop and so good at what they do. And so I was really attracted to the business side of it when I realized there was a business side of it.
Yeah, the realization. I mean, as we go to theater, I don't think you go in thinking you're going to be entertained and enjoy. You don't really think about until you start seeing what it takes or you get the opportunity to meet somebody. Okay, side question really quickly, speaking about competitiveness. Is Lisa competitive or not when she's golfing?
She says she's not.
Correct.
But
I want to know the truth.
You that maybe not individually she's
Why
competitive.
did we take
but
such a quick turn? I mean, really, Katie?
Yes, Lisa, really. I have the opportunity to ask someone who is golfing
Who
with
makes
you
me
on
golf competitively?
She does. Yes, you do.
She's the only
I think
person
reluctantly.
I will golf competitively with is Jennifer.
Well, but I also think there's been some championships that you won for tournaments that you've been pretty thrilled about. Like,
Well, yeah, but
We did. We won.
Jennifer is more competitive than I am. But
I agree.
together we do very well together. When we
okay,
have to.
all right. Well, thank you. I suspected what you said. Okay, so there's you grew up in Minnesota.
I did.
It's an interesting road to Broadway.
Yes.
So take us through it. What was your
Sure.
path?
Yeah, I grew up in the southern suburbs and, went away to college. I'm a Badger.
We will not hold that against you.
Well, I'm also a Gopher, so
Okay,
I'm both.
perfect.
I'm both. I went to
Oh.
grad school here,
Okay.
and moved straight from college to New York City. And I had a 12-year career working in media, working for companies like the New York Times, Condé Nast, Time Inc., in magazine and newspaper publishing. So back when we actually printed things,
It was fun to do.
yes, and people got printed things delivered to their homes. I was on the business side, so advertising, marketing, circulation, and just really enjoyed my 20s and early 30s living in New York City. But I was always living in Manhattan and not far away from Times Square. And whenever I had, some money or time, I would go to the TKTS booth, the discount ticket booth, where you could buy day of tickets and just see everything. So, my theater passion started very early, but I was able to cultivate that more while I was living in New York and just continued to be a fan. But getting into theater as a business didn't happen until about 2014. I was on a business trip. I was doing international business and at a trade show in London. And London also has a very vibrant West End theater industry community, and saw a show there that just blew me away. And I had heard that it was coming to New York. I was very excited about it and telling people about it. And somebody said, you should invest in that show. And I hadn't ever even thought about investing in a show. And to me, it had kind of the reputation of being a very bad, risky investment. It's where you throw your money away, you'll never make it back. But I just didn't know. So I thought, what, I really believed in this show. I connected with the producers. I made an investment in it. My husband thought I was crazy and hoped I lost it all, so that I never wanted to do it again. And then on opening night, he was with me, and about 5 minutes in, he turned to me and said, "You didn't put enough money into this."
Oh my goodness.
And it was, for better or worse, it was a huge success. The show was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, based on a children's book. And it won 5 Tonys that year. We recouped our investment and became profitable very quickly. It went on tour in the U.S., which is something unusual for a play. And it kind of started me off thinking, is there something here? And so at the time, I was transitioning from my international business job to just being a full-time consultant and sitting on boards, nonprofit boards, and came up with the idea of, could I do something from a business perspective, investing, producing with this? And so I focused on 3 things, and then anything that would get me back to New York City, because it was such a love. I moved 20 years ago back to Minnesota to marry my husband, who is in business and from here. And so it was such a draw for me to go back to that energy of the city and where all Broadway was. And so I did 3 things. I tried to credential myself. So what could I do to gain some kind of credibility as a business person in theater? I networked with everybody. So anybody that would take a meeting with me, or me saying, "I'm new to this, will you teach me?" I'm learning, so learning everything I could. And the Broadway community it really is a community and very collaborative. So people are very good about teaching each other, sharing information, talking about their successes and failures. So I did that. And then just learning, lifelong learning, but made a commitment to see as much work as I possibly could, go to markets where shows were being developed, sitting in rooms where I understood kind of how the sausage is made, how the shows are developed, and then ultimately become a commercial production.
So go ahead.
Okay, so you said a lot of things in there that I think would be interesting to understand when you say you went to other places to see how the shows would be produced or however that's done. So kind of dumb that down for someone like me. Like, what does that mean? Like, so do you find a script first? Like, how does it's kind of start in the very beginning, or does someone come to someone like you, give you a script and say, I think this would be great as a production, or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, I'll kind of back up a little bit. So my business and kind of turning my passion into and monetizing my passion is really focused more on the financial side. So two things I do. I started an investment partnership. And so I have a number of partners, and we invest side by side into different shows. So it's very much the financing of Broadway. People who are passionate, they self-identify. They also want to be involved in a show from that perspective, knowing it's risky for sure. And many shows don't ever make money, but some do. But just to be a part of it because you really love the property and you really love business. So there's that piece of it where we have portfolios of different investments in different Broadway shows. And then I also co-produce. So a co-producer is somebody who, yes, helps finance a particular show. You raise a certain amount of money. But then you kind of serve as like the board of directors of a show. So your lead producers would be the ones that are really the CEOs. They're running the shows. They're the ones developing the properties. They're the ones getting all of the creative people in the room, making all of the business decisions. So you're supporting them, and you're an ambassador of a show, a champion of a show. And so you're there to help them in any way you can. And then again, there's the lead producer would be the one, how you said, might be looking at scripts, hearing ideas from writers, maybe looking at developing underlying material or source material you think might become a really great musical and putting that together. So for me, looking for a project to get involved in, it can happen a lot of different ways. Sometimes I will see something off Broadway or at a regional theater where they're doing an out-of-town tryout. And I'll be interested in it because they might have a really great source material, as I said, a good team. The topic may be something really interesting. And then you want to see it, get involved early. Is this something you really believe can make it on Broadway? Does it hit you in your heart? Does it hit you in your gut? Like, do you really think this is going to be something audiences will flock to? And then in your head, is this going to be a good business prospect?
Of all the years that you've done this, has there been one that has completely surprised you, like you weren't expecting the success?
Yes. I saw a show probably 2016, 2017 at an off-Broadway nonprofit theater called New York Theater Workshop. And it's a show called Hadestown. And it was in a very small theater, staged in the round. I had no idea what it was about walking into it. And by the end of the show, it takes on, it's about two kind of myths that are put together, Orpheus and Eurydice, Hades and Persephone. to an incredible score and story. And I sat there with my jaw on the ground afterward thinking, this is the most incredible thing. So really leading with my heart. But I thought, there is no way this is going to be a Broadway show. There's only a couple hundred people in this theater. How can it translate to a Broadway stage? But I knew I wanted to be a part of it no matter what. So I reached out to the lead producer and said, even if I can just get your coffee, can I be a part of Hadestown? And she said, let's talk. And then, cultivating that relationship and being involved in the show in different iterations, it can take 5, 7, 10 years for a musical to make it to a commercial production on Broadway. So the creative process is long, and you want to get it right. You develop it along the way. And anyway, making a very long story, maybe longer, but the show ended up going first to Edmonton and then to London, and then ended up at the Walter Kerr Theater in the spring of 2019, where it's still playing now.
Oh, fantastic.
Which I did go see.
Yes, and I was a co-producer on that,
yes.
And we won several Tonys, and as a co-producer, I was Tony eligible, so won a Tony Award too.
That is, so where is your Tony? Where is it stored?
It is in my office.
All right.
I don't travel with it, but it's it's fun to have there.
So do you look at it, Jennifer? Is there, when you're in your office, do you notice yourself looking at it? Is it a motivation for you, or is it just kind of there now, like a picture?
I'd say the latter. It's exciting to know that it happened, that I can always say one of the projects that I was involved with won this. But, and then it's motivating. When you win a Tony, all you want to do is win another Tony.
Right.
So
Yeah.
We've been working hard since 2019 to try to find, another show. And again, I have partners in this too. So I have producing partners, different partners on different shows, and certainly partners that help finance our stakes in them.
What's the most common way to find a show? Is it to going to off-Broadway? I would imagine, are scripts sent to you? Do people reach out to you actively trying to get you involved?
They do. Rarely would people send a script unsolicited. Usually by the time we see something, it's already has a lead producer attached to it, and they're in some stage of development for the show. So it happens a lot of different ways. For new material, where the runway is really long to develop something, I may meet a producer, know that they're working on it, and get to see maybe a lab presentation or a workshop presentation. Read the script that they're working on, listen to some of the music that they're working on. And so oftentimes we'll get pitched. We've now have enough credibility and have networked and been around long enough that people will come to us, and we know a lot of kind of the best producers on Broadway, and they'll invite us to join them in it. But we have a list of, criteria to get involved because we want to make money. And that's the driving force for us. It's not, we all give and support nonprofit theaters in different ways, but this is a commercial venture. We want to look for projects that we believe will ultimately be profitable.
Would you say that the people that you work with who are investors with you the passion has to drive from the love of theater, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They self-identify.
Yeah.
They are theater lovers. And that's good because there's a shorthand. They know the players, directors, actors, creative designers. So when a project comes to us, we know who those people are that are on it. They have developed their own taste and their own instincts for what they believe will be commercially viable too. So yes, it's not just going to a Rinch aunt or somebody who pitching ultimately out there. It's to people who have self-identified in their own way
And understand that this is going to be, in some cases, a slow process.
Yes, yes. And it depends on where you are in the process. Sometimes revivals with a star attached to it may never do a development to production. A recent example of that is Audra McDonald and Gypsy. The lead producers are the same lead producers on Hadestown, so people that I knew. And they came to me saying Audra was going to be leading this with an incredible cast. And so it was helping to finance the show, and then went straight up on Broadway.
Now, do you get involved in the marketing of a show too?
We can be.
Because I would think you'd want to know what was happening
Sure.
to market something that you're investing in.
Absolutely. And so we'll receive presentations from the PR teams, the marketing teams, the digital teams as co-producers, as that board of directors, and be able to provide feedback to the lead producers on what we're seeing. Another helpful way as a lead producer is seeing something in development and sending notes to the lead producer like, okay, this is not happening. I think we're missing it here. They feed that back to the creative team. That recently happened with Buena Vista Social Club, is a show that we co-produce that's on Broadway right now. It's new this season, and they had done a lot of work from its original premiere off Broadway to bring it to Broadway, and they just weren't sticking the last bit before intermission. And I probably wasn't the only one that fed back that feedback. And it was amazing to see while they were still in previews that they dramatically changed that show in a few weeks. So being supportive like that. But, it does come to the audiences at the end of the day, like, is this an event? It can't just be really good, because if you're making it to Broadway, there are only 41 Broadway theaters. So, and many of them have shows that are long running, the Hamiltons, the Wickeds, the Chicagos, that are never going to open up. So it's really a real estate game. And so you have to be very good for a theater owner to bring you in to that show. But but can you get the audiences to come in? And sometimes they do it with a star. If George Clooney is in a show on Broadway, you're probably going to sell millions in tickets. We like to be involved with shows that are newer, may not have a Hollywood star attached to it, but a Broadway star, a real talent that has a long runway ahead of it. Can it go on tour? Can it live without that star?
And I had a little glimpse of this when I got to go with Jennifer to Chicago.
Yes.
She's co-producer for The Devil Wears Prada. And I was so excited. But I was so excited because of what it was, because I love that movie and I love everything about it. But when I got to go with her and I got to watch the business side of it, and like we shared a hotel room, and so at night she'd go and she'd take all these notes, and then she asked my opinion on some things and I gave my opinion. But taking that information, so her eye was so different than my eye watching it, right? And then giving all that feedback back to them. And I found that fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I was hoping to meet Elton John, but he didn't come. But the fact of the matter is like I got a teeny kind of glimpse into what she's talking about. And it's really fascinating, and it's a lot of work, and it's hard work, and it's passionate work.
And it's amazing the number of people involved.
Each
show
crazy.
is one company, one
like
LLC.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Well,
And like
so
even
what's-
just costumes and outfits, like it's not like
The
one
details.
person draws it on a paper and then one person makes it and then they put it on. It's like that's not how it happens. And it was so much fun for me to actually watch.
The details.
The details.
You're very detail oriented.
I am detail oriented.
Yeah.
The exciting thing after that out-of-town show in Chicago, and that was just after COVID. I mean, when COVID happened, Broadway shut down and the whole industry was kind of decimated for well over a year. And it's amazing now how much it's come back since then. But the Devil Wears Prada, we ended up moving it to London, and it's been playing there nearly a year with Vanessa Williams starring in it. And
fantastic.
opening night was last December. I got to meet Elton John.
Yeah, she got to meet him.
Got a photo, got my
I would
photo
think that would
opportunity.
only be right.
I
Sorry,
wanted
Lisa.
to be there.
Oh,
Anyway, actually, Elton John's husband was at the show that night.
he
Well, there
was.
you go.
Yes.
One step up. So, what's the most surprising thing you've learned about people from working in theater?
The most surprising thing about people.
Just or a certain things you didn't that you thought was one way and it really you found it to be completely something else.
Yeah. With a business background, and I grew up with a mother who's an accountant, a father who worked his career at Ameriprise, so very business oriented. And I just didn't really even know that creative careers existed. Went was a business undergrad, went and worked in business. And I think now being surrounded by these incredibly talented, creative people and aspects, not just, actors, directors, scenic designers, costume designers, wig designers,
Makeup artists.
so many creative people. And I think the surprising thing is that just how collaborative kind of the business and creative sides are, and kind of that I felt really that I would never be welcome into the creative space because I'm never consider myself a creative person, but now realizing like everybody is creative in a different
Right.
way, and that it's creative people are the most wonderful people, and again just very, very welcoming and happy to have you at the table.
Well, realistically, they're looking for things to help them continue to be creative. So being open to those ideas and thoughts from everywhere probably helps you become more creative.
Yeah.
I would think.
But I also think that this industry, everyone has a passion to be there. Like they don't do it because they want to do it. They don't have to do it, some of them. Some of them do have to do it, the actors but everyone loves the theater.
Yes.
Even like you mentioned George Clooney or people like that, if you listened to their interviews, why did you decide to do that? Because I wanted to be in theater.
And think about it, and you've both seen several shows in your life, I'm sure. Magic happens in the theater.
Yeah.
And it's this incredible place where people don't have any other distraction. Their phones are off. They're not multitasking. They're just immersed in what's happening, and it evokes emotion. It creates empathy. You might cry. It could be cathartic. You learn something and walk out of there, and yes, you want to be entertained in some way or moved in some way, but it's just such a powerful medium that
it's true.
people, when they become passionate about it, and I'm that person, I go to London with groups of people. I'm planning a trip right now for December. We'll see 12 shows in 7 days.
That's fun.
Every
Oh my gosh.
possible slot, and we eat in between and have might go to museums and shop in between all of those. But the people that I go with, that's what we're driven by and want to do, and it's just it's a real community. And I never went to theater camp or anything like that, but I feel like when you find your people. There's this amazing place in the West Village called Marie's Crisis. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's this dive kind of under street level piano bar. And they have a piano player that plays show tunes, and people stand in line. The line can be blocks long just to get in, and all they do are people sing together show tunes.
It makes me long for Nye's.
Yes.
Remember Nye's piano bar?
Yes. Like the sing-along and that
sing-along.
community and the
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah.
And I think theater and theater lovers and theater people just strive for that.
And I wonder if people really think about it as heavily as you're bringing it to the forefront, right? Like when they walk out of the theater, they've been entertained, they've loved the show, and they go back to their normal lives. But it does stick with you, right? You think back to it, and I think of some of my most memorable experiences in New York have been around the theater, or I've been in London a couple of times. One time it was the plan to go to the theater and getting there and taking the subway and experiencing that. I am embarrassed to say it's so long ago I can't remember what we saw. So that wasn't tracking.
But it was still an event.
It was an event.
Yeah.
It was an event
And
to go to the
theaters
theater.
that I've experienced in London are not big theaters. So when you're sitting and watching the show, it's like you feel
Intimate.
like you're in their living room.
Yeah, the intimacy.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
intimate.
and that's the one thing that I noticed right away. Like, it's like I'm sitting there and I feel like I'm going to go have dinner with them after.
Yeah.
Or you feel you know those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even locally, taking the kids to the Children's Museum, going to theater, it's just it truly feels like a special event.
It does. I mean, we all have grandchildren
Yeah.
now, and bringing them to children's theater kind of like the gateway drug to get
Yes.
them to become
Yeah,
theater
yeah.
goers.
Right.
Exactly.
But it is exciting.
Yeah, for them to see the specialness of it and put those links together.
And the one thing that I always think about, we talked about this before we recorded with you. I don't remember if we recorded it or not, but to think that every person in the production that night, and they do it 6 nights a week, 5 nights.
8 nights, 8 performances a week.
And they have all other lives. They have other things happening. And it would be interesting, like if you talk to 10 of the actors who do this on a daily basis, like when they get on stage, does everything for them fall away? Or is it hard for them to have that voice or that speech that they give every night?
Yeah.
Like I think about that when I'm sitting there, like what gets you to be able to do that? And it has to be their passion.
And just passion and a job. I mean, they're professionals, so they're
No, I
trained
understand,
to
but-
transform into that
But it can-
character and deliver
Yeah.
the words
The
and the music
performance,
to the
that's
audiences.
And
Their
like change in
performers.
30 seconds in a whole new outfit.
Yes. Yeah.
And then be that person. Like, I think that's the kind of stuff I think about. Like, oh my God, they just changed in 30
Well,
seconds.
and the people behind the scenes are the true champions. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Lights
people moving
and-
sets around, the people calling the show, the people at the soundboard, people downstairs that are cleaning all of the costumes afterward. I mean, the company managers, it's just incredible. And imagine putting that on the road, because Broadway touring, which is also very good business, because tours are built to be profitable. Most of the time they are. Going from city to city, maybe you'll stay one place for a week or two.
I know that has to be overwhelming.
Just the coordination involved in that. Yeah.
You build the set so that you can put it in a truck.
Right. But they want to bring that magical experience to you. And you think about, we do plays and musicals, but I tend to prefer musicals, and I feel like they are have a better business prospect for us in the long term. But you think of a song you might hear that just gives you chills, or, singing the cast album in the car, or, even my grandkids listen to Wicked, and I'm trying to get them to learn Matilda and, some of the others, but it just evokes so much emotion.
I don't know why, but recently Jesus Christ Superstar has been on the playlist of my grandkids. What was the other one? The Sound of Music.
Oh, great one.
Oh, yeah.
And that came about because at their school, they had a principal leaving, and they all had to learn So Long Farewell.
Oh, cute.
But it was just, and it just went on, and it was just so cute to hear them running around the house belting this out. And that abandon, right? That just love of being, and I think that's what the theater does,
Yeah.
as you think about it. Okay, so if you could recast yourself in any Broadway play, what would it be? What musical
A musical?
would you want to play the lead in, if you could?
What would I like to do? You know, my favorite of all time, and this is probably because my mother and grandmother and I always listened to this music, is Les Miserables.
Oh.
And I just love the music that Eponine sings. I mean, she dies. It doesn't, spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for her. But, you know, just the most beautiful songs. And I think back, you know, and they bring back memories of how you feel. And I think I would like to do that.
Oh, neat.
How about, so what is your go-to ritual before opening night of one of your shows? Like, what do you personally do? I
mean,
kind of know the answer, but
this is where we cross over, because opening nights are a big part of investing in a show, getting to be a part of that. It's a pretty darn exciting party, and you sit there waiting for the reviews to come out. And so the day of, I mean, by that time, I've seen the show many times in different iterations. So that part is not a surprise, but there's a certain energy in that house that you'll never have again for that particular show. But, you know, they're generally either cocktail attire or black tie. So
yeah, I got to be at one of them.
It's, yes, it is a lot of kind of the preparation for any kind of gala or black tie wedding. I mean, it's, you know, you want to make sure you're doing that. You schedule the hair, you schedule the makeup, you drink a lot of water, you know, you're going to be on your feet a lot of the night after the show, and just gear yourself up for all of the energy. But, you know, finding dresses is a whole art in itself. And, you know, it might be a combination of, I'm a big fan of renting dresses. So, you know, once you get photographed, you don't want to be
Photographed
seeing
again.
it again. Or seeing if I can find something really great that, you know I can wear to a number of events. But, you know, that you could go just for a black dress, and sometimes that we do that, but it's nice to be festive too.
And then afterwards, this kind of reminds me a little bit about if you are really into horse racing or investing in horse racing or horses in general, right? Kind of a lot of the same things apply. And then the Kentucky Derby and the pomp and circumstance that you're waiting for the outcome of that to be. So you're waiting for the outcome of the opening night and all of that. And then is it the local burger joint on the corner? Or is it a big dinner? Or what's the after? It's the finale.
Yeah, I mean, no, they have big parties that are catered, and
okay.
usually there's great food, and people are running to the parties to be able to. So they feed you, and
Okay.
there's usually music and celebrating. But I'm so glad you actually brought up horse racing, because in some ways, theater and on the business side of theater is related to that, because every year there's this Tony's race. You know, and there's a Broadway season, and the Tony nominations come out at the end of April or early May, and the Tony Awards are in June. And it's really fun to have a horse in the race, as they say, or do have shows that are eligible or nominated. And, you know, so if you have something with a vested interest in it, it's, you know, this is for theater people, it's, you know, it's our version of sport.
Yes.
And every week, you know, instead of watching the sports pages, we're, you know, reading the trade news and what's going on Broadway. And every week the commercial theaters report their grosses. So you know exactly, this is such a strange industry, but you know exactly how each show is doing.
Oh,
because they report on that through the Broadway League. And so
that's interesting.
And it's public, you know, so you can see, you know, how is
I didn't know that.
Wicked doing? Or you look at a show like, oh, it looks like they might be really struggling. It's good information to have. That theater might be opening. They may not make it. You hope all shows make it and do well, but you get to see the realities, maybe the seasonality in what's happening.
Sure. Now we have to talk about critics.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I read something, or actually I heard something recently. I think it was on NPR, they were talking about someone is saying critics need to be more critical. I think, isn't that, so have critics been too nice about outcomes of things or what? I mean, that just seems so strange to me. And I think by being a critic, you're talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of what you just saw.
But today, what are critics? Like, I mean, you've got,
I suppose,
TikTok, Instagram.
Everybody's a critic, I suppose.
So you have just people as critics that
yeah.
are not being paid to be critics, and sometimes that can take off in a good way or not a good way.
That's absolutely true. And so there's been a huge evolution in the power of the critics. And some people will say, the leading critics, it doesn't even matter anymore. I don't think that's true, because actually a good comment or blurb or review from a critic that you can use for marketing can be very powerful from a well-respected critic. So does the New York Times still matter? I think so. I mean, that's the first one we're all looking for. And there are several other leading publications where I think the critics are well-respected and you want to see what the reviews are. But yes, I mean, as Lisa said, you get it from all over now. So I think real criticism is out there. And if you want to see real criticism, also look at audience reviews. There are different apps, websites where audience members review shows themselves, and you get to see, has this person seen one show a year? Do they see 50 shows a year? And hear what they have to say.
Where do they find that if someone actually wants to look that up?
There's something called Show Score. People can go on to Show Score, look up a show, see how audience members are responding to it. But then also, I mean, you could go to AI or ChatGPT or even Google, and you can read up a lot about a show.
What, I don't want to go to the negative, but is there but I'm going there. No. Who's harder to manage? Actors, musicians, investors, critics?
From a management standpoint, not being the lead producer, although I am leading a project in development locally here, so I'm getting a taste of that. I don't know if it's harder to manage. I think everybody in different ways is looking out for their own self-interest, and then at that same point, they also have a need to be collaborative. So as a leader, it's how are you getting everybody to be collaborative? I think investors are great. I mean, investors are people who are fans of the show, and I think fully understand the inherent risk of what they're doing. You want to make them happy, and ensure that they get the access that they want to the show by being an investor. But it's, I think everybody has a common goal in mind. And if you are at the Broadway level, certainly you have a level of professionalism, that, it's.
I think
you
otherwise you're not probably going to be doing too many other shows.
That's right.
Unless you're really one of those divas that can command it. But even then, who knows? Let's switch to local. How is the local Twin Cities theater scene?
It's magical here. I mean, we're so fortunate. It's one of the top markets in the country for theater per capita. I think just right after New York City and maybe even ahead of Chicago. And so we just, the Twin Cities we're so good in Minnesota about supporting our nonprofits. So there's quite a few amazing nonprofit theaters. And I've been on the board of the Guthrie Theater, for over a decade, and feel like it's one of the top regional theaters in the nation, if not the world. And the kind of work that we're producing and the talent that we attract there, and just an incredible location. But there's so many other great theaters too. Our children's theater company is also one of the leading in the country, if not the world, and they put on incredible work.
Ordway.
That the truth is not just for children. Sure, I mean the
Yeah.
Ordway.
Yeah.
We have houses, Hennepin Arts, that are presenting theaters.
Yeah.
So they're not producing, but they're bringing shows in, which are really important. Again, it's part of, too, the Broadway economy. People come, they might see The Lion King that's on tour here, and then they'll want to go and experience more of this on a trip to New York. Or see more. But there's smaller theaters too. I mean, Theater Latte Da is incredible in Northeast Minneapolis, developing or producing musical theater. Artistry that's in Bloomington. So we're so lucky here to have so many.
Do they recruit, do you think, some of the actors here, do they get recruited to New York? Like, do people watch them? Do people come here and watch them?
I don't think necessarily actors. Maybe I think the actors might get agents, and then they would go and audition for shows in New York. But certainly people will come from New York and see world premieres, or work by, a certain director or writer, something that they can maybe consider for their theaters, either regionally or in New York City. Like, for instance, I'm co-producing Purple Rain. So it's a new musical, obviously based on Prince's movie and music. And that's a world premiere opening. Previews start in October. It's opening early November and has a very short run. This is called a developmental production. And hopefully it's amazing. We're building it and have capitalized it to go onto Broadway. But, you don't... no announcements have been made. It's let's see what we have here. And hopefully, because Prince is kind of our native son, it's, people here respond positively.
Who is playing Prince here right now? Someone locally?
It's somebody who's been working on the workshops for the past few years. And if you look online, can see it's just this incredible musician that has also evolved into becoming an actor.
So when you put this together, do you have a website for the production you're working on? Like, is that a whole separate deal?
So each production is a different company, as I said, a different LLC. So it's being run as an individual company. So they'll have, and
so if I want to get more information on what's going on with that production as it goes through the process, is that possible to do?
It is. I think oftentimes less on a website will they be showing that than maybe social media. So following, Purple Rain Musical, for an example, on Instagram, on Facebook, signing up for updates because they're good about signing or sending out information that's going on. Yeah, you can follow what's happening.
Purple Rain the Musical.
I think it's Purple Rain Musical, but
Purple Rain Musical.
I'd have to check on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll double check and get the right information on that out, because I think that's fascinating, especially with the local, right?
Yes.
The local flair to it, and then to be able to watch the process.
Yes. I mean, Disney's Lion King started here. They had the first developmental productions here in Minnesota quite a while ago. Learned a lot from that, and there's an amazing Vanity Fair story about it, just how they went in not sure it was going to be anything, certainly had disasters involved, and then, ultimately what we see on Broadway and the West End around the world just transformed theater at the time they made it into an event.
That's incredible.
A lot of things start in Minnesota quietly. Like, have you ever noticed that a lot of musicians have their first concert in Minnesota? I can't name off the bat who they are, but I have gone to many in my adult life where they'd say this was our first night, or
I don't.
Comedians come here to do their acts.
Well, I know our comedy scene for years, I don't know if it still is, was really on point. I don't, my whole upbringing, I wasn't a theater kid. I did one play when I was in high school, I think, because they needed people in the chorus. And it was Carnival, I think was the play. And I don't know, I think they didn't need to put me on stilts to play that. But I had more fun doing it and just with the camaraderie of the group. I remember that more than anything. But sports have always been my thing. So but I have enjoyed plays tremendously, but not to the extent, like this is making me really interested in the business of it and looking at it from a whole different aspect. So thank you. Just truly fascinating. Fascinating. Now, we have to ask, do you have a lucky piece when you go, like, do you have a lucky charm, a piece of jewelry that you always wear, something that brings you luck through the things that you're doing?
Oh boy, a lucky something. Not necessarily lucky, but I always carry Altoid mints with me in both the theater, and maybe it's just a nervous habit to sit. I eat a lot of them during a show, but it just is something I
that's
always
your
carry
thing.
along.
Like,
That's your
the
thing.
show's going to start, you put a mint in and
Right.
you
Have you ever found yourself without the mints?
Yeah, well, sometimes my husband steals them, and then
Oh, no.
I don't have any left. But yes, it's nice. If I'm nervous or excited, I might be. Because you can't have popcorn in a theater, you know?
No.
You have to be very quiet, and you can't open up anything with a wrapper. Yeah.
There's
Jennifer, what do you
etiquette.
think your superpower is?
Oh, boy. My superpower. I'm a very good planner, and I'm a doer. So, or at least I think those are my strengths. And I love planning. I love planning.
And I can attest to that. She knows what she's doing in 2030.
So you have
In
a level
January.
of patience too. In January of 2030.
Yeah, I can guarantee you she has something planned.
She might be exaggerating a little bit.
Okay, 2028.
But, but planning things out, and it serves
that
me
brings
well
you
in
joy.
this business.
But that brings you joy. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't stress you out. That you like doing that.
Looking ahead, and interestingly, announcements for new shows, as an example, come out 6-9 months in advance sometimes. So planning to make sure I'm going to see this show during this time. And
You almost have to have the attitude in the business that you're in is that the best is yet to come.
you hope so. You hope so,
You
and
hope
then you
so.
hope it lives a very long life.
Yes. For us all. That's what I always say too, is the best is yet to come. I hope to be saying that until the day I die. And then I hope it's true on the other side. So, well, listen, the other thing that I think is so incredible about you is your philanthropic spirit, because there's a huge part of that you've been involved in and give back to. And we do our moment, our spotlight, and you've chose Planned Parenthood, North Central States. Talk
Yes.
a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the foundation board of Planned Parenthood North Central States. It's a 5-state affiliate of Planned Parenthood. I was on the Action Fund board prior to that, but just want to support an organization that believes and offers equity and access to health care for people that might not be able to otherwise, and just allows people to live their life with dignity.
I think that's so important to know about Planned Parenthood, that it is about health care in many, many forms. So ppncs.org is Planned Parenthood North Central States for more information on that. We want to thank Beam Light Sauna in St. Louis Park and Sweet Ivy as two of our sponsors. You can get more information about them on our website, which is theviewinyourmirror.com. If people want to reach out to you, how do they do that? Best way to get a hold of you?
The best way would probably be LinkedIn, Jennifer, and then Melin, Melin, Miller, or at my website, which is northstartheatricals.com.
Fantastic. And the Purple Rain production.
Yeah, if you want to follow what's happening, it's purplerainbroadway.com.
Can't thank you enough. This has been so fun to see you. I've got to believe you two have fun when you're on the golf course and beyond. And we wish you so much success. It'll be fun to now follow this, a new thing to follow, which is great. Lisa?
Yes. I love that you were on. And it came up so organically when we were golfing, right? I'm like, Jennifer, do you want to be on our podcast? She was like, I don't know. Anyways, but this was really fun for me. I've never had a friend as a guest on our podcast. You are the first.
I feel very fortunate. And I'm so proud of you guys, what you've built with this
thank
podcast.
you.
I'm a fan. I listen.
Thank you.
Listen often. So it's a real honor and pleasure.
Well, you
It's
are
our
the
passion project.
and you are the perfect person, an area that we knew nothing about, showing that there's just so many different directions that people take with their life, but we all still share the desire for camaraderie and humor and sometimes quiet solitude and all the things. And when we look in the mirror, we want to know that we're presenting the best person, the best selves, our best selves. If people can get on the stage and perform day after day after day after day, we want to put that, we want our daily performance of who we are to be reflected in the mirror of exactly how we feel. So put the smile on your face, know that you are the best version of yourself, and we love you. Until next time.